8 years ago, I quit my city job and came to Portugal to buy this abandoned piece of land. And now 8 years later, it's thriving. And we're now running permaculture courses here and apprenticeships, as well as specialist courses. We're going to go around this morning and check out the whole 18-hectare property to show you the reforestation, our permaculture systems, the chickens, agroforest, the sheep, the gardens, where I live, and we're going to look at some of the natural buildings. So I hope you enjoy the tour. Please remember to subscribe, and let's go and see the chickens. So this is my chicken system. My chicken system is one of my favorite systems in the farm because it integrates so many different elements. We've got a chicken compost system that makes great compost. We've got a naturally built chicken house using materials from the land where we can really easily collect the eggs from the outside. And the chickens also get to rotate out of here into our chicken food forest, where we've got about 40 varieties of plants and trees for them to forage through. We've also got this extra piece here where we can separate chicks that we're raising, or when we raise our chickens for meat, we keep them separate here because they have a different type of feed. If you want to know more about our chickens, we've got a video on our chicken compost system and also a video on how this whole system works together. Over here, we're in my agroforest next to the chickens. This agroforest was a plantation I planted after I planted 2 food forests, having learnt that the diversity of the food forest is too diverse and complex for volunteers to manage. So I've got a more simple system called an agroforest, where here I've got lines of fruit trees, and in between I've got grapevines. And in between those I put alley crops. This is quite a sustainable way of growing food, integrating fruit trees, vegetables, animals, as well as supporting trees like this nitrogen fixing tree here. In this next field, I've got my Silvopasture for sheep. And basically what this field is lines of swales, which are ditches along the contour to catch water. And next to those, I have these mounds where I have my trees growing along. And between the trees, I've got grapevines and herbs. And all around the edges, I've got these supporting trees like this river tamarind nitrogen fixing tree. And in between the rows of the trees, I've got alley crops. Right now I've just got potatoes on one, but soon I'll be planting alley crops between each row of trees. This is similar to the last agroforest, however, I planted this more recently with the learnings I've had from the other food forests and agroforests. So over here, I've got my big hole, and it goes all the way along to over there. And what this is my quarry stroke, in the winter, a pond. So this is where we've harvested all the clay on the land, so we can build using natural building techniques such as cordwood, cob, straw bale, and wattle and daub. So this is my dog Ziggy. He's my livestock guardian, and he spends all his time with the sheep. We got this guy when he was a little puppy, and he's always lived with the sheep, and I've trained him to look after them, look after the farm, and he absolutely loves his job. Ziggy, sit. Good boy, good boy. We're here at my barn, which is also made of natural materials. We've got cordwood wall here behind us, where it's got cordwood from the forest here and clay from that hole I showed you. And then all of the roof, at least on the main side, is from my old ruin where the roof had collapsed. So I actually reused the wood from my ruin to build this, and there was some missing wood, so some of the timber from the roof is from our eucalyptus trees. And as some of you will know, we're removing the eucalyptus trees to replace with native trees because they're very flammable and not so good for the environment here in Portugal. So these are my sheep, and these guys are my best workers. They work every day, eating the grass in the far to reach places of the land, making it more fire resistant because we have then less dry grass in the summer. And they bring all the nutrients back here in the form of manure, and then we compost that. And that compost allows me to grow organic vegetables and organic trees. So every morning I have to let these guys out, but this morning's a little bit different because a new lamb's been born. And I didn't know that until right now. The mother's had twins. Well, it wasn't the plan to show you this morning, but this mother has had a massive belly for a few days, and she's had these two lovely twins. Aren't they cute? So this one's a male, and this one is also a male. In the barn, I have this lovely room here, which has a gap in the bottom, and that allows the young babies to go in and get extra food. I mean, not these yet babies, the ones that are a couple of months old. They'll go in here and get a bit of extra food, which helps them grow. And in here we also have a worm farm. So in here we keep worms because it's nice and cool in here, and that creates a really good fertilizer for our garden. It produces worm castings. So I'll come back here to check on the sheep, on the lambs, every couple of hours. But yeah, in the morning, we usually let the sheep to somewhere where there's the longer grass. Like here, it's really high and rich in clovers. So they'll be here like 30 minutes, and then we're gonna move them to another pasture which hasn't got as much on. So over here next to the sheep, I've got this nice lake on my right, and I've got another lake over here on the left. And these basically are great for having a little swim, and they're at the top of our landscape where they hold on to water, which through the summer slowly penetrates the land, keeping a little bit moisture through our reforestation fields. There's also a stream that starts here that goes all the way through our land down to a waterfall at the end. So whilst I'm waiting for the sheep for their 30 minutes, I'll have a quick dip. So now, before we go back to look at some of the other things we've got on the farm, as we're up here, we're going to have a little walk around some of the zone 4 and 5, the outskirts of the farm. So here I am on one of the many viewpoints on the land, and I really love this spot because I can see over here my swales. You've got in this field here, swales, ditches along contour, which helps slow down the water through the landscape. So one day, these are going to have trees along them, but for now, they're helping stop erosion of soil and holding on to moisture higher up in the landscape. You can also see on the right, we've got some trees, all cork trees, native trees we're looking after. That used to all be eucalyptus. And as you keep going, you can see one of the outer compost toilets, my house. Then you can see the greenhouse, the solar panels, you can see the gardens, you can see the community building, then the agroforests that we were at. And you can go back and see where the sheep are, and the barn and the lake. So before we head off to go and look at some of my reforestation areas where I'm planting trees, let's go and see some of the areas where we're managing reforestation in a different way. You can see all of these areas where there's lots of rocks. We've recently cut back all of this, had this broom, which was really flammable. So we've actually spent 5 people, 6 days each, cutting this all around the land to make it fire safe. And we've still got a lot more to do. Over here on what I call my faraway field, I have 3 hectares of land which was heavily ploughed, and the soil here is terrible. But we've stopped ploughing, and what's happening is we have native trees growing by themselves. So this wasn't here when we moved here. It's grown from a small tree, and every year I have to come and prune them. There are about 1,000 of them. So I have to take off every year the bottom third of the tree, the branch is growing in the bottom third, and encourage it to grow up. And now we've got this forest growing all the way around without planting anything. We can't plant anything here because it's so far away. So we're just working with the native trees. Because sometimes I just come here and sit and enjoy the work I've been doing. That's the best part of off-grid living, is observing the work you're doing and enjoying it. So we're here in my reforestation area, and unlike the last place where we're letting native trees grow by themselves, here I'm actually planting the trees myself. So we've got here 3 different fields. This one here behind me is called the Shivani forest, and this one has about 8 trees designed in here to grow massive in a long time. But because it does take a long time to get there, I've filled the spaces in between with pioneer species which grow fast to improve soil, and fruit trees that don't live a long time. So we've got a succession of trees. Over in this field next to the Shivani forest, I've got what I call the wetlands. And this is the wetlands because for much of the year it's got sitting water and it's really wet. So I've got lines of trees here which are a mix of different trees that don't mind having wet feet. And they're planted quite close together because some of them will be here forever, but some of them will also be here as firewood and fodder for my sheep. In between these, I also have a perennial pasture where I grow perennial grasses which are really good for offsetting carbon and creating good fodder for the sheep. I'm here in my reforestation field, and actually here I planted the trees a long time ago, but they're the same size as the last wetland field, which are planted more recently. But all of these trees I planted when they were small, and the other trees I planted when they're big. And what happened was, when I planted small trees in here, for 5 years I couldn't put the sheep here, and I had to cut the grass by hand, which was a nightmare. So now I try to plant bigger trees or fence them to protect them from the sheep, so I don't have to do more work. So I've got these trees planted with much more spacing in this field, except for this windbreak row. So the trees can become specimen trees, nice and big, to grow to their full potential, and there's a huge diversity of trees on the drier area and the wetter area, creating diversity for birds and wildlife. And in the spaces, I grow my summer vegetables. But right now there's no vegetables here because it's waterlogged. But in the summer here, this will be full of beans and pumpkins and potatoes. I've got 2 summer gardens, and I also have separate winter vegetable gardens. And that is because in the winter, it's waterlogged where it's moist in the summer, and in the winter areas, it has good drainage but it's very dry during the summer. So now the sheep are out and Ziggy will take care of them for the day. We'll take a walk along the promenade. So the promenade is a road from our main gate that goes both to my house and the communal building. Along here, I've planted big trees like this Persian lilac. And all of these trees are along both sides of the road and they're all different types of trees. And the idea is to create a nice big closed canopy so we have full shade during the summer when it's really hot anywhere that I walk. In between all the big trees I've planted here, there are so many different things planted to take up that space until the trees get big, like the pecans and different fruit trees, cherries, and just trees to attract insects and birds. And it's really just a design to give us as much shade as possible and look beautiful as we walk down. So this area here near our front wasn't a road. We created this road here, and actually we used to get stuck with the car here, so we created these ditches down the side, and then the water goes into a little pond we created, and if this pond overflows, then all the water goes through this pipe and then heads off into the stream and off the land. So we've done lots of little different types of earthworks around the land to manage water, to either store water, slow it down, or get rid of it. So over here on the other side of the farm is my house. And when I moved here, this stone house was a complete ruin. And over the last few years, we've rebuilt it so we can live in it. But what I originally did was built the straw bale house, which is on this side. So I'm going to release a video soon with a tour of the straw bale house and how we built it, and as well how we renovated this old stone ruin. And next to my house over here, I've got my own little personal garden. I've got gardens all over the place, but this is a special one because it's frost resistant, because the house blocks it. So in here I've got loads of trees and plants that die if there's frost. So it's a little food forest here with quite a few different types of things, and I've got garlic growing in between this year. So out the back, the other side of my house is where it goes to our vegetable gardens. So I'm here in my winter garden and food forest, and here I've got lots of trees, perennial vegetables, and vegetables that we grow through the winter, such as garlic and onions, asparagus, strawberries, and it's completely full of food. And now I'm going to walk through the garden and show you the greenhouse. Welcome to my straw bale tropical greenhouse and shower room. In here is where I take care of all my vegetables before they get planted out in the summer. So I've got my tomatoes, eggplants, flowers, cabbages, everything is in here ready to plant out this summer. And it's nice and warm in here because we've got this plastic and glass roof, insulated walls with straw bale. And if you come back here, I've got this 200-litre water tank which we heat with wood, and that keeps the water nice and hot. And then that we use for in here to have a shower in the greenhouse shower room where we stay nice and warm. And as this tank cools down, it keeps the greenhouse nice and warm. So on top of all the vegetables inside the greenhouse, we have these bathtubs. There's one here and one here, and we use these for keeping our worms. We've got worms all over the farm, as you'll start to notice, because they are so useful. Under the cardboard here, you'll see lots and lots of worms eating food scraps, and we're turning all of these food scraps and compost into worm castings. Next to our greenhouse, we've got this area which we call the sunrise shack, and we've also got our nursery. So here where we propagate plants, ready to transplant into bigger pots and go up to our other nursery for where we plant them out. And we do the work over here in our sunrise shack. So a little area here that we created for doing propagation work. And then around here we've got even more seedlings of trees, which once big enough get moved to our other nursery, ready for planting out or selling at the markets. And on the back of the greenhouse, we've got our tools. So it's always been a nightmare to take care of our tools. There's so many people working here, but at the moment everything gets kept here, but I'm planning to move this and create a drawing on the wall for everyone so we can see which tool's missing, because sometimes we spend so long looking for tools. So we're over here at my irrigation shed, and what I've got on the outside of here are all these pipes with electric taps, and inside is a controller, and what it actually does is I can control by my phone which field, food forest or vegetable garden gets irrigated. So I can program it and in theory go on holiday and the farm take care of itself. But the reality is the farm cannot take care of itself. So over behind me I have our other summer garden, and this is where I grow the things like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, and other things that we have to regularly harvest. So we'll be planting this out again in a couple of months. So up here, I've got this nice hill full of cork trees. But actually when I moved here, this whole hill was full of eucalyptus trees, and you couldn't see the cork trees, they were much smaller. But eucalyptus is really bad for the environment, at least here in Portugal. So they've been removed. We've got a couple of videos on how to do that. They've been removed and killed, and you can see the stumps here, everywhere. And now that we've got this beautiful cork forest coming through. We've already got the bigger ones, but there's smaller ones as well. And this goes all the way around this area through to our olive grove around here. Right, so come over here. We've got a beehive. We have to be quiet because they might come and sting me. You see all the bees hanging around under there. They're making honey. Beyond the beehives, over here, we have olive trees. These are just amazing. These guys create olives, and it's a certain type of olive you make olive oil with. So we're actually creating our own olive oil here. Seems that someone else is happy. Underneath here is a hole that would have been dug by a wild pig. Over to this side, you can see 3 or 4 tall eucalyptus trees. Well, this whole hill was eucalyptus, and you can see all the cork trees coming through. We actually removed the eucalyptus about 5 years ago, and these cork trees have grown since then. So it's turning into a forest with native trees, but it's not just cork. We've got here wild olive, we've got hawthorn, and many other native species around here. This is a beautiful hill with much of the same. And now I'm going to walk up One Tree Hill, which is a beautiful viewpoint. By the way, I've just noticed that around every olive tree has got this dug over area by the pigs. And I think that's because recently, maybe 3 months ago, I put compost around every tree. And what that does is feed the microbes and increase the amount of microorganisms and worms around there. And the pigs will come up to eat all of those. So I don't know if that's good or bad for the olive tree, but personally, I wouldn't want it dug over like that, but it is what it is. Anyway. So here I am at the top of One Tree Hill. I love this place, because from up here I can see my whole land to a different angle to the other viewpoints I have around the land. Mountains, I can in fact see Spain, lots of different villages and fields. And over on the other side down there, maybe you can hear the waterfall where I sometimes take a shower. So over here on this side of the hill, you can hear the waterfall down there, and that's where the water exits my land, but I do like to enjoy a shower in that waterfall on a nice hot day. Actually, in our first year, that was the only shower that we had. My whole land is full of terracing done by the Moors, man-made streams, and there's also piles of rocks like this everywhere, which I'm not really sure what they are, but I'm guessing it's from where they've cleared the area to make it easier to plough with a donkey and a plough. One day, I hope to use these to make a little house here. So over here is my long drop Permaculture composting toilet, and this is basically a dry compost toilet that's powered by worms that eat all of the human manure and turn it into worm castings. Check out our video on how this works. So over here we finally get to a communal building, which is one of the buildings made of straw bales where the community hang out, eat, educate and work out. So come and have a look. So we got this nice outdoor area for hanging out, as well as an area here to keep our boots. I'm quite proud of my boot rack. It's just bits of wood where you put a boot on top. And we've also got our seed storage, and around the side, we've got our garage stroke workshop that's currently being built. I used to use a workshop on the other side of the farm, but that's moving here because I keep having to walk around to get tools. Around the back, here, we've got all of these herbs. We've got herbs all the way around this wall, and we built this stone wall to stop all of the erosion of the soil, because this used to be a slope and we terraced it so we could build this house. So Danny, a great volunteer that was here, built this stone wall that's complete with a barbecue and lots of these nice seats. So this is the inside of the community house. All of these walls have been built with straw bale, and I've got homemade tables. We've got a homemade kitchen bench, a recycled kitchen, and this is just a wonderful place for everybody to hang out, for us to make communal food. And next door, we'll go and have a look at our classroom. So in here is our classroom where we have classes during our courses, but we also every day here either do yoga or we do workouts with these rings and other tools. And this room was built with natural materials, but different materials. We've got straw bale on one side, cordwood on another, wattle and daub on this wall. Thank you for watching this video tour of our property. We didn't get to every single part and obviously couldn't talk about every system in a lot of detail. So if you are interested, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to come and learn more, you can join us on our permaculture courses here in Portugal. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below.